Welcome to one of the most gripping trials we've covered yet. Today, we're diving into the case of State of Texas versus Samuel Bach, where an 87-year-old Air Force veteran lost his life in a violent crash on Highway 181. The prosecution claims Samuel Bach was driving recklessly, clocking in at over 100 miles per hour, while the defense insists the victim's own actions played a role. With high-speed data, chilling eyewitness testimony, and heartbreaking medical details ahead, this case has everything: tragedy, shocking revelations, and a battle between two narratives. Stick around, because the twists in this courtroom will leave you stunned.
All right, everyone, please be seated. Oh, you may be seated.
Thank you. May we approach her?
Yes. All right, State, you may proceed.
Yes, Your Honor, true bill of indictment in the name by the authority of the state of Texas, the grand jury of Bexar County State of Texas, duly organized and impaneled and sworn on such at the September term AD 2023 of the 290th District Court of said county and said court. At said term, do present in and to said court that in the county and state aforesaid and anterior to the presentment of this indictment, on or about the 25th day of January 2022, Samuel Allen Bach did recklessly cause the death of an individual, namely Carlos Dominguez.
This is where the courtroom drama truly begins. The state is charging Bach with reckless homicide, meaning his speed and failure to brake weren't just traffic violations, they allegedly crossed the line into criminal negligence. Notice how the prosecution carefully sets the stage. Not just that Bach was driving fast, but that his choices directly caused the crash that killed Carlos Dominguez. Think about this. At what point does speeding stop being a bad habit and start becoming criminally reckless? Was it the 39 miles over the speed limit or the failure to brake in time? I want to know what you think. Should extreme speeding automatically be treated as a crime if it results in death, or should intent matter more?
After referred to as the complainant, by driving and operating a motor vehicle at a speed that was not reasonable and prudent under the circumstances then existing, and or failing to apply the brakes in a timely and reasonable manner, in which acts and omissions caused the defendant's vehicle to collide with the vehicle occupied by the complainant, against the peace and dignity of the state, signed foreman of the grand jury.
How do you plead? All right, thank you. You may be seated. State, do you have opening statements?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
US Highway 181 is what some would refer to as God's country, okay? It starts at or near downtown and leads almost all the way to Calaveras Lake. And so when you take this drive, you know, the sun is beating down on the highway It's a wide open highway that leads to Calaveras Lake. Now, there's lots of hardworking people that decide to settle in that southern area of Bexar County, Texas. And one of those people was Carlos Dominguez. He was an 87-year-old retired Air Force veteran. Another one of those people that lived out in this area is John and Stephanie Bach, and who also lived with them was their grandchild, the defendant that sits before you, Samuel Bach. Now, traveling down 181 towards Calaveras Lake, you'll come up on a landmark bridge, and it's called the CPS Bridge. And the speed limit out there is 65 miles per hour. And so on January 25th of 2022, there were many people that were traveling down US Highway 181 going towards Calaveras Lake. One of those people is Melissa Cox, and the other is Frank Garcia. Now, both had similar experiences, and I anticipate that they will testify in this case and let you know the similar observations that they made. And that would be they observed a silver Cadillac driving down US Highway 181 at a high rate of speed. Now, they couldn't see who was driving the silver Cadillac at that time. However, this silver Cadillac passed both of them up in their own motor vehicles. As they continue down Highway 181, hoping that nothing happens involving this silver Cadillac, they happen upon a catastrophic crash scene. Now, they didn't observe the accident, but there is a person that did. That person's name is Kurt Fuller, and he observed the crash. You'll hear testimony from him that he was working at an automotive business, and he was outside, and he just so happened to turn his back to catch the crash. And he's going to explain to you his observations that he made. That silver Cadillac T-boning the black Chevy SUV that was occupied by Carlos Dominguez. And by this time, Melissa and Frank are happening upon the scene, and they immediately recognize that this is the same silver Cadillac that passed them less than half a mile away at a high rate of speed. And so they get off, they attempt to make contact with Mr. Carlos Dominguez. He's in that driver's seat of that black Chevy SUV, and he is displaying no signs of life. Now, Bexar County Sheriff's Office responds to the scene. You're going to hear from Deputy Garcia. He's going to tell you about the witnesses that he spoke to and the scope of his duties on scene. You are also going to hear from Sergeant Trace Shannon. He is the person that made the scene. He identified some roadway evidence and documented evidence on scene. You're also going to hear from Investigator Calendar. Now, he will tell you, in cases such as this, there is some evidence that can't be collected there at the crime scene, okay? There's additional investigation that needs to go into a crime such as this. And so he lets the defendant go from the scene on that day. He makes an appointment with John and Stephanie Bach to download something that is contained within that silver Cadillac. It's called the airbag control module. The airbag control module will give you up to 5 seconds of data regarding speed, whether the brakes were applied, and the speed that the vehicle was going in 5-second increments, okay? And so Investigator Calendar and Investigator Shannon make this appointment. They obtain that data, and what they find is that 5 seconds prior to this crash, that defendant over there was driving 104 miles per hour. That is 39 miles per hour above the speed limit on that stretch of road. Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to hear from Dr. Trang. She is a medical examiner who is formerly employed with the Bexar County Medical Examiner's Office. And she's going to testify to the catastrophic injuries that Carlos Dominguez sustained. Heart completely ripped in half. Lungs pulverized. Pelvic bone shattered. Ribs shattered. I submit to you that was all caused by the sheer speed and impact caused by the defendant.
And there it is. The prosecution paints a devastating picture backed by hard data and medical evidence. Samuel Buck wasn't just going a little over the limit. He was flying down that highway at 104 miles per hour in a zone capped at 65. The tragic result? An 87-year-old veteran, Carlos Dominguez, lost his life in a matter of seconds. The defense will argue contributing factors, but the stakes here are massive, not only for Buck's future, but for what this jury decides reckless driving truly means under Texas law. If you found this case as shocking as we did, make sure to hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more jaw-dropping courtroom breakdowns.
And I am confident that at the close of this case, when you've received all the evidence, you will find him guilty as charged. Thank you.
Defense, any opening? You may proceed.
All right, good afternoon. So on January 22nd, 2022, Carlos Dominguez was 87 years old, and he's in a parking lot of a Mexican food restaurant that's on the side of Highway 181. And he has been diagnosed with stage 4 kidney disease, and he has refused treatment. There is video of the crash, and you will see that his driving facts are that he's pulling through the parking lot or rolling at the parking lot. And if Highway 181 is here, he's going at an angle in which he cannot clearly see anything that's coming up from behind him. And not only is he going at an angle, he doesn't step on his brakes that can be seen. He doesn't use a turn signal. He never comes to a 90-degree. This particular parking lot is a problem because it is just, there is no barrier to keep you from driving across it. To cross this Highway 181 is 2-lane traffic going in either directions. And then you can take crossovers, right, to get to the other side.